Hi everyone, I'm gonna show you guys a video of me defeating Orbis at 5000 corruption and also a video of me mapping at 5000 corruption. Please do stick around if you want to learn more about the build. This is actually going to be a complete build rather than what I changed from 4000 corruption.
It's all about humanity. 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 about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity.
Alright guys, as we have reached 5000 corruption, I would like to go over the build as a whole again. So let's talk about offensive part first. So Fragment of Enigma is where we get most of our damage from. So we Spark Charges, it's where our damage is actually from, rather than Frost Claw, Elemental Novas. So we get +2 lightning damage for Spark Charge per intelligence from our Fragment of Enigma. So we want to scale intelligence in our build. So I have 171 intelligence, which equates to 342 added lightning damage for our Spark Charges. So on top of that, why Wrongwarp is actually really good. It provides 1080% lightning damage and 653% spell damage. I mean, not all of them are actually from Wrongwarp, but Wrongwarp provides additional spell damage per 1% increased movement speed, and that's where most of our damage is actually from as well. I mean, it adds additional damage on top of what we have from our Fragment of Enigma. It also gives us 35% increased cast speed and movement speed, which give us more damage. So right now I'm only focusing on Wrongwarp and Fragment of Enigma. We can talk about the rest. Wrongwarp also provides a lot of defensive capability as well, which is why we choose Wrongwarp. We are not choosing Wrongwarp because of the increased damage. But I want to point out why increased damage is important and why added damage is also important. So notice how the calculation is the damage calculation is. So we have a base damage plus the added damage, which in our case was 342, and then on top of that, our increased damage is around like 600+% and 1000%. That give us 1 plus 6 point something and 10 point something. That give us around 17 times the damage, 17 times the base and the added damage. So that's a lot. So that's why Wrongwarp is really good in terms of an item. Mad Alchemist Ladder gives us more cast speed, so it could end up being. I mean, it's really hard to determine which one actually gives us more damage. Also, Wrongwarp actually gives us a plus 60 spell damage, which is a lot. So it also adds up to the base damage over there. Mad Alchemist Ladder does not give us much. I think it gives us 13 to 16 spell damage. Alright. With that being said, let's go over how spark charges work. So spark charges work by once we apply a spark charge, the spark charge will trigger after 0.7 seconds. Notice we have a 12% chance to apply a spark charge on hit with the Fragment of Enigma, but this is not our way of applying the spark charges. So the way we apply our spark charges is from Elemental Hours. So give me a minute. So when we apply our Elemental Nova, notice that there is a spark charge after that explodes after 0.7 seconds. That's where our damage is coming from. The damage number is pretty low because we are not casting teleport or spamming overskill, so it's much lower than usual. But also notice that we do not have Elemental Nova on our skill bar. And why is that? That's because we are actually using Frost Claw to proc Elemental Nova. So how is that possible? Let's go over Elemental Nova first, and then we'll talk about Frost Claw. So Elemental Nova, when we spec into Lightning Nova and then 5 points into Spark Charges, every Elemental Nova has a 100% chance to apply a Spark Charge, and that's our main way of applying Spark Charges. With Frost Claw, when we put 3 points into Celestial Conflux, every projectile from Frost Claw has a 42% chance to cast Elemental Nova. So when we cast Frost Claw, notice that there are a lot of projectiles with each cast of Frost Claw. And that's why we have so many casts of Elemental Novas. So with that being said, let's focus on Frost Claw projectiles. So in Frost Claw, when we spec into Hand of Moditas, it causes 2 additional projectiles, and essentially we have 2 more projectiles to trigger Elemental Novas, which in turn triggers Spark Charges. Which in turn applies Spark Charges. We also need Volley of Glass so that projectiles are not staggered and it can hit the same target. We put 1 point into On Through the Snow so that Frost Claw would be recasted from the target location to a location 4 meters behind it. So basically, we would have a second class of Frost Claw. And this second class also has 3 projectiles. And then we would want to put 1 point into Ever Onward, and it allows us to have a third class behind the second class, so more projectiles. So we would want to put 1 point into A Crack in the Ice, which allows Frost Claw to be cast back towards us. So again, more projectiles, so Frost Claw would be cast back towards us. So notice the second cast is cast back towards us. It's cast back towards us, so that's more projectiles. So I didn't put points into Frozen Melee, so what I believe this does, it causes the second cast to target a random enemy instead of being at 4 meters behind it. So that's why it really doesn't serve any purpose, because our main source of damage is from the Spark Charges from Elemental Nova, so the Elemental Novas is more important. Because the area of Elemental Novas is so huge, so it really doesn't matter if the second cast is aim or not. So now back to Elemental Novas. So what we want to focus on Elemental Novas is area and the mana efficiency after we put 5 points into Spark Charges. let's go over the mana efficiency first. So we want to put 1 point into Ice Nova so that we can spec into Elemental Tranquility, so that we can put 3 points into Cryomantic Fragility. So we put 3 points into Cryomantic Fragility because Elemental Nova would cost 8 without Cryomantic Fragility. 3 points would reduce it to -1, which is 0. It increases our cold damage taken, but that's fine. 9% is not too much, and that's alright. It also increases our shock chance with Lightning Nova, Ignite chance with Fire Nova. It increases our freeze rate multiplier for our Ice Nova, but that's not the important part. It increases our damage as well by 7% to all Elemental Novas. Alright, with our mana cost issue taken care of, let's focus on area. So why area is important? Because when you cast Frost Claw, notice that when the projectiles hit the second and third cast, when the area is going to be important, because if the area is small, it's not going to be able to hit the same target. What I mean is, when you cast this, if it procs over here, if the area is small, it wouldn't be able to apply a spark charge to an enemy over here. It will apply a spark charge on enemy only on that in that location. So that's why area is really important. And also it allows you to hit the whole map as well. That's really good. So what do you need for the area? So we put 1 point into Fire Nova. So it gives us slightly increased damage. We put 4 points into Immolation, give us a 100% chance to apply to ignite enemy on all of our Elemental Nova. We put points into Fire Nova and Immolation so that we can spec into Inferno Nova. So Inferno Nova causes the area to increase by area of Elemental Nova to increase by 250%. It increases the ignite duration by 100%, but the main reason behind taking this is the area. 250% increased area. It does increase the cooldown for Elemental Novas by 4 seconds, but we are not using Elemental Novas, we are not casting it manually, so we are actually getting the benefits of Infinite Nova, and we do not get any disadvantages that comes with it. You notice how many Elemental Novas we are able to cast even with Infinite Nova. But if you were to cast it manually, there's a 2.8 seconds cooldown. We have a cooldown recovery, so it's 2.8 seconds, but you can't cast it freely. So that's why you use Frost Claw for it. So after that, we put 5 points into Elemental Expense, so that increased our area by quite a lot too. Not as much as Inferno Nova, but that's substantial. We put 1 point into Arcana Elementarum, so because we have an additional point, and we just have we can put 1 more point into this. Notice I put 1 point into Charge Destruction for more critical strike chance. So we want the critical strike chance not for damage from Elemental Nova. We want it because we get more ward. We get ward on crit from Jagged Veil. I'm also using Bone Claimer instead of Prismatic Gaze, so I would not have kept out spell critical strike chance, which is why I would be using which is why I would be putting 1 point into Charge Destruction. So next, let's go to Frost Claw. So Frost Claw, I've already covered all the projectiles, but let's go over the rest. So you put 1 point into Shiver Shell so that it can spec into Glamdring. This allows us to gain forward when we cast Frost Claw. Not as important. I put 1 point into Rending Cascade, so that allows us to have a slight 2% increased critical strike chance. That's a lot. You can put 2 points into Rending Cascade instead of Shiver Shell, so you can spec into Glamdring. It's totally up to you. I might end up doing this instead because we need more critical strike chance. So Frozen Rain. So we also put points into Rending Cascade so we can spec into Frozen Rain. so that -3 mana cost is really important. We also get increased damage versus Frozen. We'll be using Snap Freeze, so it does increase our Frost Claw damage. It reduces our projectile speed, but that's alright. So like I say, you can spec 2 points into Rending Cascade so that you get Glamdring, or 1 point into Shiver Shell and 1 point into Rending Cascade to get Glamdring. It's totally up to you. Glamdring is actually useless because we are not scaling melee damage, so we are only using Glamdring so that we can spec into Cold Star and get all of the casts from all of the additional casts from Frost Claw. So Cold Star also gives us more damage and area, and it's double because we would always have more than 1200 watt. So next, next we will also want to go to Gift of Winter. This is actually for mana efficiency. We need all 3 points so that we reduce mana cost, and also we have a chance to gain 12 mana when we cast Frost Claw. So this is really important to put all 3 points into this. And then we put 2 points into Arthur's Scepter to give us a little more damage and a little more Frostbite chance. We mainly put points into Arthur's Scepter so that we can put points into Frost Beyond Time so that we can spec into Celestial Conflux. Frost Beyond Time allows us to get more Human Duration, so Frost Claw applies Ignite and Frostbite as well, so that would the Human Duration would be slightly longer, but those are not our main sources of damage. So we put 3 points into Celestial Conflux, like I mentioned before, so that we have a 42% chance to cast Elemental Nova, which when each projectile reach the target. So we have a lot of projectiles, like I mentioned, so we have a lot of chance to cast Elemental Novas. So we also put 1 point into Fan of the Frozen, so that we can put points into Lava Talon and Bright Frost. So the slow and chill chance is actually pretty good debuff, and actually it's really good to have this over here as well, so it's an added benefit. But also the chill chance is actually converted to ignite chance with Lava Talon, so we don't really chill them, we actually slow them, so it's alright. So with Lava Talon, like I mentioned, the chill chance is converted to ignite. Chill is actually only has 3 stacks, so when we convert chill to ignite, it's actually better. We can stack more ignite chances. We can what I mean is we can stack more ignites rather than chill, because chill is limited to 3. So we put 1 point into Lava Talon, and so that we can put 2 points into Spark of Celebrity. So Lava Talon also converts it to Fire skill because we need Frost Claw to be fire. And I'm going to explain why Frost Claw needs to be fire. So we put 2 points into Spark of Celerity, and that's actually sufficient so that Frost Claw is actually at 22 mana cost. We put 3 points into Bright Frost, that causes us to have 12% increased cast speed on Frost Claw. It also cleanses ailments when we cast it, which is really good. So we would never have ailments on us because we would always be spamming Frost Claw. We put 1 point into Hand of Moditas, like I said, for the 2 additional projectiles and Volley of Blast, so that we have projectiles hitting the same target. Notice that I do not put, I remove 1 point from Cohen Ballista. I was using that with Ice Barrage, and now I'm using Flame Ward instead of Ice Barrage, and I'm gonna explain that in a bit. So why we remove Ice Barrage from here? And so the Cohen Ballista increases Ice Barrage rate of fire when we cast after we cast Ice Barrage and we spam Frost Claw, we would increase Ice Barrage rate of fire. And when we cast Frost Claw and Elemental Novas, it's actually really good against multiple enemies, but it's actually really bad against bosses. So Ice Barrage is an added provides us with a lot of so Ice Barrage is like a volley of ice that that would hit a single target, and that's really good because it also allows us to apply spark charges, but it's a very good single target ability against bosses and rare enemies. But what I noticed is Flame Ward is actually Flame Ward is actually better to be in the skill bar rather than Ice Barrage. The reason is that we are able to actually look at the cooldown duration of Flame Ward rather than have Ice Barrage. But I also want to talk about Flame Water for everyone here. So for Flame Ward, we do not really want to manually cast it because we want to have it cast automatically by itself. And how do we have it automatically cast by itself? We have a point in Astonish. So why this is actually one of the most broken mechanic for Flame Ward. So when enemy hit us, and usually the high damage enemies, when they hit us, it would stun us. When we are damaged by weak enemies, they don't stun us, so Flame Ward would not be casted. So, which is why Astonish is such a broken skill, because we would always get the damage mitigation. You can cast it manually if you want, but I prefer to have it automatically casted. But there are some times where you really want to cast Flame Ward, and so you have the flexibility of casting it if you put it in your skill bar. So let's talk about Flame Ward. So you put 2 points into Stalwart Defense, so you can, you get a little more ward, but you want to spec into Desperate Defense. This is actually useless by itself. You want to spec into Astonish, that's why you put 2 points into Stalwart Defense and 1 point into Desperate Defense. And after that, you want Flame Ward to be an extremely defensive skill, so you put 5 points into Barrier, so that you get additional 40% less damage taken from hits. So Flame Ward already gives you 400 ward, and hits would deal 30% less damage to you. So you will get an additional 40% less damage taken from hits, and a 30% less elemental damage taken when you put 3 points into Prismatic Buffer. After that, you want to put 3 points into Dilation, so Flame Ward would be around 4 seconds instead of 3 seconds. You want to put 1 point into Fire Aura to spec into Frost Ward. So Frost Ward causes Flame Ward to be cold, so you can put it into your skill bar as well. And you put 5 points into Flame Ward, so you will gain most of your armor from here, which is why I'm focused more on the dodge rating rather than armor, because you would gain a lot of armor on your Flame Ward. So if your Flame Ward is down, and you know your Flame Ward is down, you can play more defensively with Teleport and Snap Freeze. So now, let's go over Runic Invocation. So this will explain why we need Frost Claw to be a fire skill. So I put 2 points into Attune Approach. I'll talk about that later, but this refunds our mana and gains 60 ward, because we would have 3 rune when we cast Runic Invocation. So we put 1 point into Inscribe Pattern. This gives us passives, not too important. So we put 1 point into Inscribe Pattern so that we can put points into Runic Energy and Order of Arcana. So I put 1 point into Order of Arcana, which increases cooldown of Runic Invocation to 12. So usually Runic Invocation costs 0, but this also causes to refund the mana for Runic Invocation and cause the damage of Runic Invocation to be plus 45%. But we are not using Runic Invocation for damage; we are using it for defense. So we put 1 point into Order of Arcana so that we can put 1 point into Immutable Order. So what this does is that it allows us to fix what skill we want from Runic Invocation. What it does is, when we cast a spell, the runes that we gain are always matches our skill bar from left to right. So we have coal, fire, coal. So even though we are casting Frost Claw as a fire skill, we will always gain coal, fire, coal because it matches what we have on our skill bar. Which is why immutable order is important, and it's also why Frost Claw is a fire skill, because we want to have teleport in our skill bar. And I will talk about teleporter later here as well. So teleport provides us with 1 second of immunity from Wrongwarp, and that's really important. It also gives us increased cast speed, movement speed, and that gives us a lot of damage as well in Wrongwarp, as I mentioned earlier. But at higher corruption, the 1 second of immunity is really impactful, and we have a 3.1 seconds cooldown. But if we have Frost Claw as a lightning skill, we will not be able to get Rowan's Frost Guard. I forgot to mention that before. So we want Cold Fire Cold combination for Rowan's Frost Guard, which gives us 30% less damage taken and 100% freeze rate multiplier. We mainly use this for the 30% less damage taken. So one thing you want to focus on Rowan's Frost Guard is that if you are mapping and when you cast Rowan's Frost Guard and your ward actually drops, you actually lose all your ward, you want to recast Rowan's Frost Guard as soon as possible because the shield would actually break if if you run out of ward. So Rowan's Frost Guard also gives you a lot of initial ward and it scales with intelligence, and it also gives you ward every 0.4 seconds, and that also scales with intelligence. Now back to Runic Invocation. We put 4 points into Runic Energy, which gives us Runic Energy when we cast spell. And we put 3 points into Copy Scrolls and 1 point into Arcane Battery. So what Runic Energy does is that with each stack of Runic Energy, it increases the damage of Runic Invocation, but we are not using that for that purposes. We're using that for Copy Scrolls so that we have a 7.5% chance per stack of Runic Energy to be repeated. So every time we cast Runic Invocation, it would be a double cast, and the reason for that is we also have Arcane Battery, so we triple the amount of Runic Energy, and this allows you to, when you cast a skill, you gain Runic Energy per mana spent. Because you'll be spending a lot of mana, you'll gain a lot of Runic Energy. But the effect of Runic Energy is half, so we have 38 Runic Energy and the effect is half, but because we have 7.5% chance, so that is actually 3.75% chance to repeat, but we have 3.75 multiplied by 38, that's already 142.5%. So we don't really need a lot of points back into this, so we have 142.5% chance for it to double cast. But if you have more points into this, you can cast this when the number of Runic Energy is lower. But I might end up respecting this, but there's not a lot of points in Runic Energy, in Runic Invocation that makes sense. Because we use it as a defensive skill. But let's move forward. We put 4 points into Transcriber of Power. This actually allows us to buff our spell damage and cast speed for the next 12 seconds. We get plus 8 spell damage, plus 8% cast speed for the next 12 seconds because we would have 3 runes when we cast Runic Invocation. We put 2 points into Unbreathed Rune, 1 point into Devastating Starfall, and 1 point into Cosmic Mind so that we can spec into Elemental Starfield. So we cast Elemental Novas from runes in Invocation. So we have Cold and Fire, so every time we cast it, we will cast a Cold and Fire Invocation. We have cast a Cold and Fire Elemental Nova on top of Runic Invocation. But because we also repeat it, so we cast 2 Cold Elemental Nova and 2 Fire Elemental Nova. We don't need it for damage. We don't need it for damage, so these two are useless. And Cosmic Mind is useless because we are using only 2 runes. We put 1 point into Runeslinger and 2 points into Elementalist Claw. Increases our cast speed a little, and also increases our current mana gain as well. It also provides us with more elemental penetration and area only on the next Frost Claw cast, so that's not too impactful, but we have too many points in Runic Invocation. So there are some alternatives. You can put 3 points into Strike to safety, so it allows you to bounce back when you use Runic Invocation. It also reduces your damage taken by 36%. So you can do that as well, but I don't like that because it causes me to be out of position sometimes. Next we go to Snap Freeze, and Snap Freeze is, let's talk only about the mapping perspective. Although we won't mainly spec this for bossing, actually let's just talk about both at the same time. So Snap Freeze, so what Snap Freeze, what we want to spec into Snap Freeze is we want to focus on increased freeze duration and increased cooldown recovery. So we put 4 points into Snow Flurry. That's for cooldown recovery speed. We put 2 points into Focus Frost so that we can put points into Wandering Fog, so that we can put 1 point into Freezing Mist. So that increases the freeze duration by 20%. We also put 5 points into Cryomancy. That increased freeze duration by 60%. We put 2 points into Adapt for increased cast speed, but we mainly put points into this so that we can spec into Flash Freeze. That reduces our cooldown, and that also reduces our freeze duration, but the cooldown recovery is important. So notice I put all 7 points into Wandering Fog. That actually increases the area of effect by a lot. So when you cast Snap Freeze, it freezes a large amount of enemies. The width is not a lot, but I mean it's going to be casted at a very far location. But the width is actually lower because we have Focus Frost and Freezing Mist. Alright, let's talk about items next. Let's start with Fragment of Enigma, since this is where the damage is coming from. So, like I say, Fragment of Enigma, we get a +2 lightning damage for Spark Charge per intelligence, and that's really good. We are scaling intelligence to get more damage. Also, what you want to look for in a Fragment of Enigma is you want as high intelligence as possible. I got one that has 14 intelligence. Word per second is not too important. I don't really need to look at it. Chance to apply Spark Charge on hit, ideally 12% if you can, because our other skills would also be able to apply Spark Charges, and that also gives us more damage. So increase Spark Charge explosion area, 208%. Ideally you want this to be as high as possible, and let me tell you why. So notice that Spark Charge explosion area. Notice if you have a low number, when you are fighting mobs that are very close to each other, the Spark Charge would not be able to explode and kill multiple enemies at the same time. So if you have a very high Spark Charge explosion area, you'll be able to kill mobs more easily. We don't need to look at more damage for Spark Charges applied by melee attacks because we are not using melee attacks. So also, when you cast Teleport, you also apply a Spark Charge to all enemies around the destination. So we are using Teleport, so we also get an additional way of applying Spark Charges, but that's not our main way of applying Spark Charges. So what you want to slam into Fragment of Enigma, you want increased cast speed, critical strike multiplier, and dodge rating. I mean, you don't really need any of the chance to shock attackers, chance to ignite attackers. Those are useless. So T7 cast speed is preferable, and critical strike multiplier and dodge rating. Next we'll go with amulet. I use an exalted amulet. I was using devotion, but I changed it to an exalted amulet with 14% increased cast speed. It's a pretty high roll, so cast speed is actually really good on amulet. That's really let's look at amulet over here. So when you look at the basic amulets, you have a lot of different types of amulets, and the best amulets is the breath amulet for the 5 to 15% increased cast speed. And if you want an exalted amulet, you will want this. I mean, there are other amulets, but that you might choose. I mean, honestly, this is actually the best breath amulet. So what you want to put into here is lightning penetration. And let's look at the prefix list. So we can put critical strike multiplier, lightning penetration as T7. T5, ideally you want spell damage so that your other skills can skill with that. I have this very good amulet, so lightning damage is fine because the other affixes are what I need. For your suffixes, you want to focus on dodge rating if you can, uh, because we are trying to max out our dodge rating. When we cast Flame Ward, we get a burst of armor. We get 4,830 armor. Uh, the armor is actually not 72% and 50%. This is a low level area, so it's actually 63% when we have Flame Ward. And I can definitely move to a level 100 area so that we can actually see. Alright, so now we have the 38% armor and 40% dodge rating. When we cast Flame Ward, we get 63% armor. So we don't really need to focus on armor, we want to focus more on our dodge rating. Oops, actually I still have my bossing build equipped, so our dodge rating is actually going to be 43%. So like I said, amulet you want to focus on dodge rating. Other suffixes I would say health would be probably the other health would be probably be the other affix that you want. Chance to shred armor is not too good, and the reason behind why chance to shred armor is not good because you will be switching to frozen heart when you're bossing, and I'm going to explain that later too. So chance to shred armor needs to be in the gloves rather than in the amulet because you will be switching out your amulet. Now let's talk about uniques. So for uniques, you can put slam into a 3 or 4 LP the claw, and they are cheap. You get increased cast speed, but you also get health on top of that, so you get an additional benefit. You also can put it into frozen eyes, but you do not get any of the other benefits, so it's not too good. So ideally you want the claw if you can, but honestly just an exalted item is good enough. But if you have a 4 LP the claw, you basically get an additional FX. You can slam into devotion a 2 or 3 LP because it gives you a lot of lightning penetration and lightning damage. You don't need it for fire and lightning resistance because it would already be capped. So if you roll a very high lightning penetration and lightning damage, devotion is really good, and on top of that you can put 2 or 3 more affixes on top of it. But I still prefer the cast speed exalted. I mean, it kind of depends on how good your devotion is. You can also get Aurora Time Glass, but you can't really get 2 LP You can buy this at 2 LP for 1.5 1.5 billion. So this is not too good because you can put a lot of affixes on top of it. Give you 6 to 18% attack and cast speed. It give you more health. It give you more void retention as well. So Aurora Time Class is actually an alternative, but it's really hard to get a 3 LP Aurora Time Class. So I would say it's not preferable. You can get Eye of Storms for increased cast speed. So you get a chance to cast Maelstrom and increase lightning damage per active Maelstrom. Those are actually not too good. It allows you to cap your cold resistance though, which is alright. But you can use this as an alternative. But again, like the claw or just an exotic item would probably be better. Omnis or even Devotion is better. Omnis is actually another alternative because it gives you +1 to all skills and it allows you to cap off whatever resistance that you need. It gives you a later more critical strike chance. But it's not the preferred amulet, but if you need to add level to your skills, you can use Omnis. So helmet. So I'm using a Bone Claimer instead of a Prismatic Gaze. So reason for that is if I have this unequipped, my armor is actually at 24%. I'm using Bone Claimer as a sort of armor buff for me. So it gives me a lot of armor, and it gives me 150 armor and plus 150 and plus 130, so that's 280 armor. It also gives us 13 dexterity, which gives us more dodge rating, and it gives us 13 intelligence, which scales with our spark charges damage. It gives us necrotic resistance, but we will always have capped necrotic resistance. We don't need this. So vitality gives us necrotic resistance, and we have capped necrotic resistance from vitality. We don't really need this necrotic resistance. So when choosing this, you don't really need to look at necrotic resistance. You just need to look at the dexterity and intelligence. You want it to be 12 or 13. I like to always choose 13, but you can choose 12 if you want to, or 11. So it also provides some passive void per second. It's not too important. We're not generating a lot of void from here. So for slamming, you want to slam T7 intelligence, and then for the other stats, you want armor, dodge rating, or armor. You want specifically armor, reduced bonus damage taken from critical strike, dodge rating, or increased spell crit. So helmet is also one of the other items where you get increased spell crit doubled if you have over 300 max mana. So you want to try to slam that too. So you would not want to slam increased spell crit on your other items that does not give you the doubled if you have over 300 max mana. I believe only helmet and body armor give you that. So prismatic gaze gives you is another alternative because it gives you a lot of critical strike chance, a flat critical strike chance, and 40% increased critical strike chance. Notice my spell critical strike chance is at 79% with prismatic gaze. It also gives us 8% less elemental damage taken. It gives us significantly less armor, and it also doesn't give us a dodge rating as well. So that's why Bone Claimer is preferred. Prismatic Gaze gives us a lot more damage. It gives us a lot of it gives us more void from Jagged View passive. However, at higher corruption, you want to focus more on defense, so that's why Bone Claimer is better. Another alternative would be Crest of Unity, because it allows us to put more points into Elemental Nova and it allows our Elemental Nova to have increased area. And also, it causes Elemental Nova to have pretty high damage too, because now we would have Elemental Penetration with Elemental Nova. So that would be another source of damage with Elemental Nova. But then yeah, it also provides us with mana span gain as well, so more survivability. but it also gives us less damage taken from ignited shock or chill enemies. So another source of damage mitigation. It gives us 77 ammo, not too much. So Crest of Unity is an alternative. Elemental Nova is always try Elemental. It gives us because we will be specking a lot into lightning damage, so it allows the Elemental Nova to also have more damage from it being tri-elemental. Next, we'll talk about the Wrongwarp. So this is also the key to this build, as long together with Fragment of Enigma. Like I say, at higher corruption, when we cast Teleport, we are immune for 1 second, and that's really important at higher corruption. It allows us to avoid DOTs, avoid damage altogether. So Wrongwarp is actually really good. It also stuns enemies at the location for 10 seconds. Not for 10 seconds, it stuns 10 enemies for 1 second. The location is random, but that's alright. It's only for the immunity. We only use it for the immunity, not to stun the enemy when mapping. We also get 20% chance to gain haste. Haste gives us increased movement speed, which increases our spell damage. So we get 3% increased spell damage per 1% increased movement speed. And because we can skill movement speed, we would gain more spell damage into all of our skills. So spark charges scale with lightning and spell damage, and this would increase our spark charges damage by a lot. It doesn't increase our ignite or frostbite damage, but that's alright. We are not focusing on ignite or frostbite. It also gives us increased cooldown recovery speed for teleport and transpawn. So my teleport is at 3.1 seconds. I did a pretty bad roll on this. It is 36%, almost at the low end. If you get a high one, your teleport would be at 2.8 or 2.9 seconds cooldown. It gives us a flat 60 spell damage as well. So if you want to choose this, you would only need to look at increased cooldown recovery speed and the spell damage. Chance to gain haste for 1 second on hit is not too important because no matter what the number is, our cast speed is a lot, so we would always gain haste. I mean, high numbers is always preferable so that you are able to gain haste faster when you engage combat, but you want to focus on spell damage and cooldown recovery speed. You can focus more on mana if you do not have enough mana, but it's 50 to 60, so the range is not too wide, so you wouldn't want to get your mana over here. What you want to slam is you want T7 cast speed and T5 critical strike multiplier. For suffixes, you want lightning penetration. So chance to shock on hit is not bad, but you can get chance to shock on hit on any other item, so lightning penetration is more preferable for suffixes. So next we'll go to Unstable Core. So Unstable Core is really good because it provides us with +1 to lightning, fire, and cold skill. And that is good because it allows us to spec more into Elemental Nova. Elemental Nova is a lightning, cold, and fire skill, so it gives us 3 points into Elemental Nova, so we can put more points into expanding the area. We also get 3 points into Runic Invocation. We get 1 point on 2 other skills, but it's really good for the area. It increases our Elemental Nova's areas by a lot because we get 3 more points. It also gives us a lot of mana. So the range is pretty huge, 10 to 120. You want to have one that rolls a lot. So that's very important because we want to have stats that would double if we have over 300 max mana. So it also gives us a 196 armor and 7% increased mana. I mean, I rolled the lowest possible, so if you get a higher, that's actually better. But it's kind of a combination of both increased mana and the flat mana. Because I have a 94 mana, I didn't really care about the increased mana percentages. It also gives us 196 armor, so that's really good defense for defense. For slamming, also I get 131% increased elemental damage, so ideally you want to get one that has that rolls closer to the higher end. So we don't need to look at when you directly cast Elemental Nova 6 times without a 2-second gap, because we would not be casting Elemental Nova directly. So that stat is pretty much useless. So I actually did roll a very low one, and that doesn't really matter. So the next thing is what do you want to slam on this? So you want to slam T7 intelligence. You get a lot of intelligence here, and again get increase spell crit. Because this is doubled. This is the one of the place where you get doubled of your increased spell crit if you have over 300 max mana. So you want that if you can. Other possible alternatives would be, that's a lot over here. I believe there's a lightning critical strike multiplier. You can get that, but obviously what is preferred is increased spell crit. For suffixes, you would want dodge rating, armor. There are two different type of dodge rating, I believe, percentages or the flat dodge rating, but dodge rating is preferable. Armor and reduce bonus damage from crits. If it's not capped already, you can do that. I have mine capped from helmet and my belt, and I have a passive Panther Catalysis that also reduce bonus damage taken from crits. So I have T5 on my helmet, T5 on my belt. I'm still taking slightly more damage, but it's alright, it's not too much. But like I said, T7 in, T5 increased spell crit, and T5 dodge rating. So next we go to ring. Red ring is actually the best because it gives us +5 to all attributes, +20% to all resistances, and more increased dodge rating, and also less damage taken, 10% less damage taken. So what you want to focus on Red Ring is the +5 to all attributes. If you can get one that is +5, that would be really good. You want to get +20% to all resistance if you can, +19 is fine. But we are using 2 Red Ring to cap our resistances. Because our Blessing gives us +20% to all resistances, 2 Red Ring give us +20% each, that already give us +60% on our resistances. It also gives us a 6% increased movement speed, which scales with our Wrongwarp on spell damage. So +5 to all attributes give us intelligence as well, and gives us dodge rating, and strength gives us armor, vitality gives us poison and necrotic resistance, attunement gives us a little more mana as well. So with 2 Red Rings, you also it's just much easier to cap resistances. And let's talk about capping resistances right now. So we start with 60% on all of our resistances from the Blessing and 2 Red Rings. Let's start with Fire and Lightning. We cap Fire and Lightning resistances by having 8 points into Arcanist. I'll talk about the passives more later, but we have to put 8 points for the intelligence. So we would be capping Fire and Lightning resistance from here. So cold resistance is capped from my idol. I have one that have 5% increased health and 15% cold resistance. That caps our cold resistances. So 5% increased health. Increased health is good because of Twisted Heart. I will talk about this more later when we talk about Twisted Heart. So physical resistance. Physical resistance is kept from the small idols. I have one that combines dodge rating and physical resistance. As I mentioned, you want to cap out. You want to focus on dodge rating. So I have one that has dodge rating and physical resistance. So cold resistance does not go with dodge rating, so that's why I have to use health, and that's actually not bad. 5% increased health and 15% cold resistance. Next we go with poison and necrotic resistance. Vitality, we have 16 points in vitality, so because we have 16 points, we get 16% poison and necrotic resistance, so our poison resistance is capped and our necrotic resistance is capped. So where do we get 16 vitality? We get 5 each from Red Ring, that's 10, and we get 5 more from Merlin Hubris. And where's the one more vitality? Alright, that's I can find the additional vitality. But I have 16. Even if I have 15, I would have kept out my poison and necrotic resistance. Vitality also gives 6 health too, so that's an added bonus. So notice my necrotic resistance at 138%, and that's because of Bone Claimer. So void resistance is kept by the idols with void resistance and dodge ratings. Next we go to belt. So I use a ward drill instead of strands of soul. The reason for that is because you actually get a lot more benefits with dodge rating compared to mana spend gain as ward. So strands of soul, I would say you would probably get around 80 mana every second. Frost Claw only has a 22 mana cost, so it's not our main way of generating ward. Twisted Heart and our other skills are more important in terms of generating ward. So with dodge rating, if you end up dodging an attack, you actually end up not taking any damage. So that is actually more preferable than having tons of ward, which is why I'm really focused on increasing dodge rating rather than getting more ward. So ward drill also allows you to have a cheap 3 LP belt. So what I mean by that is also we could not get a cheap 2 LP to 3 LP strands of soul. So it kind of make it not optimal in terms of slamming, because for ward drill or any other belts, we actually are able to get 3 affixes on top of it. For strands of soul, we can get 1 or 2, and the 2 LP ones are really expensive. And for belts, we want to focus on the defense. So I have a T7 dodge rating, T5 reduced bonus damage taken from critical strikes, and a T5 lightning damage. That's all you need. If you have a 4 LP, you would want to put fire damage, but these 3 are the most important stats that you need. So Watcher give a lot of flat dodge rating. It also gives a lot of increased movement speed, which scales with our Wrongwarp damage, spell damage. So alternatives would be something like Viper Tail, which gives us increased dodge rating percentage, but it's not too good because for mage we would prefer to have dodge rating, flat dodge rating. The reason is we do not have a lot of sources to gain dodge rating, so flat dodge rating is a lot better. It gives up to 175 dodge rating. That's a lot. So for Ward Drill, you want to ideally get one that has close to 175 dodge rating, as much movement speed as you can. What gain when you dodge is not important. So like I say, Strands of Soul, it's kind of an overrated item because mana spend gain as what is really good. However, we would not be able to get a 2 to 3 LP Strands of Soul for a cheap price. It's actually much better to get a 175 dodge rating, in my opinion, because avoiding attack is more important. Alright, let's go back to body armor. Possible alternatives in terms of unique for unstable core would be Core of the Mountain. I don't really recommend this. I mean, it does give us a lot of stats. It gives us 30 to 45% increased armor. The flat armor is lower, but it gives us +4 to +10 to all attributes, which is pretty good. It does give us a bit of dodge rating and more armor from strength and dexterity. It also gives us health, poison, and necrotic resistance from vitality. Also give us a bit of a bit of mana. However, we don't really need the damage immunity for 3 seconds after being hit. Reason for that is because when we are hit, Flame Void would be triggered and we would gain a huge damage reduction for 4 seconds, making this item redundant. And we also would not be able to get a high LP core off the mountain. Another alternative would be Static Shell, and this is actually a much better alternative. It gives us less flat armor, but it does give us 105 to 175% more armor against shock enemies. Problem is we would still have to hit the enemy first and shock them before we get hit, so it's not too reliable, but it's actually not too bad. And also we can get a 3 LP one for Static Shell, so it's actually pretty good as alternative. It also gives us a lot more lightning damage to shock enemies because it is the more lightning damage. The way more lightning damage works is that it takes all of our damage multiplied by the increased damage and then it multiply it by 1.07 to 1.15. So that's taking all of the damage multiplied by this multiplier. So that's really good. We don't really need it for the static charges, but static shell is actually a really good alternative. As for gloves, Melian Hubris is a really good item because it gives us a decent amount of armor. It also gives us vitality and intelligence. What you want to choose when you're choosing the Melian Hubris, you would want to have one that has high vitality and high intelligence. A high vitality allows you to cap your poison and necrotic resistance. It also gives you 6 health on with each point, but also it does give us 44% increased fire damage over time because our Frost Claw is now fire. We would get a bit of damage boost for our ignite, but that's not our main source of damage. So what you want to slam over here is increased cast speed, or T7 increased cast speed, or T7 intelligence, and T5 chance to shred armor on hit. You can also get T5 dodge trading, but what is really important is the chance to shred armor on hit on your gloves, because we will be switching our amulet out when we are bossing to Invoker's Frozen Heart, so the amulet is not a good place for chance to shred armor. We would only be able to use chance to shred armor on the glove, so we could be versatile on both bossing and mapping. So this glove would work for in both cases. Possible alternatives would be Sweatening of the Erase is a really solid item if you can get intelligence and chance to shred armor on hit for your Sweatening of the Erase, or even just cast speed as well. But it definitely needs chance to shred armor on hit. So if you do not have chance to shred armor on hit, you would have to go to Elemental Nova and you will want to spec into Melting Nova, but this is pretty slow. What I mean by that is it works for bossing. We can stack up to 60, but it's still slow. For mapping, we would be taking a lot of time before we can armor shred them to like 60 stacks. So getting a chance to shred armor on hit on the gloves is really important. And as for an exalted item, Eternal Gauntlets or Glutinous Gloves is really good. It gives us a lot of armor, or it gives us a lot of armor plus a lot of increased health. Also, as for unique, we could also get Ravenous Void, but this boosts our survivability. But we will need 1 LP and put chance to shred armor on hit on Ravenous Void. I would still prefer just Melian Hubris because it's much easier to slam into Melian Hubris because the 3 LP ones are pretty cheap. So next we go to boots. Blood of the Exile is arguably the best because it gives us a lot of movement speed. It's one of the boots that give us one of the most amount of movement speed. 38% is what I have for this. It's from 37 to 39%. We don't need it for bleed duration or more physical ailment damage. We using it for the stats, for the attributes. So strength would give us more armor, dexterity would give us more dodge rating, intelligence would give us our damage, ward retention, and cooldown reduction, and spell critical strike chance. So when you are buying Blood of the Exile, you want to focus on intelligence, and then after that you will focus on both strength and dexterity. I did not have a high roll on strength and dexterity, but I have the max amount of intelligence, so that's alright. As for the slamming, you would want to have intelligence as a T7 or cooldown recovery speed on your T7. You would, in terms of other affixes, you would want movement speed, dodge rating. As I mentioned, we are trying to stack dodge rating. Increased movement speed also gives us more spell damage. That's why movement speed is actually really good. So if you have 2 LP, you would want to have intelligence and cooldown recovery speed rather than movement speed. Because cooldown recovery speed is important because it gives us less cooldown for our flame ward and snap freeze, so we can be more defensive. So that also works for ward drill as well. For ward drill, we would want to have T7 dodge rating or T7 cooldown recovery speed is totally up to you, but we only need a 3 LP ward drill. Next we go to Twisted Heart. So we have a +4 to Frost Claw on our Twisted Heart, but we actually do not need +4 to Frost Claw. We only need +2 to Frost Claw because we don't need 3 points in Bright Frost. Because we have additional points, that's why I put 2 more points into Bright Frost, which increases the cast speed by 8 more %. For Twisted Heart, it's really important to get a high roll on the current health converted to ward when you directly cast an elemental spell. This is our main source of ward generation, so we would want to get a high roll on that. So the increased health percentages, we could get one that has higher, but like I say, the current health converted to ward is the most important stats on this item. Strength and increased cast speed, ideally you want it to be as high as possible if you can get one that is good. As for idols, I have mana efficiency with lightning damage. Because I have +4 to Frost Claw, I could actually switch this out and put more points into Spark of Celerity. But that's not necessary because I have a very high roll on this idol, so it's actually better to keep them. I also have one that has increased critical strike chance with lightning skill and increased lightning damage. I have 2 of them. So what you want to focus on is actually the lightning damage rather than the critical strike chance. You want to boost your damage. If you're not capped on your resistances, you can replace these grand idols with more resistances idols. Alright, next let's go to passives. We will need to put 8 points into Arcanist to get all 8 intelligence, and it also helps us with capping of a fire lightning resistance. We'll put 2 points into Elementalist. We can put 2 points into Scholar instead. We don't really need that increased damage. More survivability is actually better, so it's actually up to you. I might end up respecing into Scholar, but we would need 10 points in order to spec into Mage Flurry. We put 5 points into Mage Flurry for the increased cast speed. Also, we need this. This is really important for increased cooldown recovery speed for both Teleport and Snap Freeze. We also put 5 points into Knowledge of Destruction. This allows us to get more critical strike chance and critical strike multiplier. So more damage and also more survivability because it was scaled with Jagged Veil. We also need 20 points in order to spec into other trees, so that's why we need 5 points there. So next, let's go to Sorcerer Tree. Arcane Momentum, we put 5 points, so what this does is every time we cast a spell, we get 5% increased cast speed for 2 seconds, and it stacks up to 5 times. And then we put 8 points into Essence of Celerity so that the Arcane Momentum duration is increased by 80%, so that's closer to 4 seconds. And also it does give us more spell damage per stack, so 16% increased spell damage per stack, up to a total of 5, which is 80%. So with 6-point bonus, we also get move speed at max stack, so that helps with our move speed and also it gives us more damage with our Wrongwarp. We put 8 points into intelligence. This also allows us to scale our intelligence to spell critical strike chance, which is really good. We put 1 point into Cerebromancer, mainly to spec into Riftbolt. So this Riftbolt, we put 5 points into Riftbolt that gives us 15% of lightning penetration and 1.5% lightning damage leash. So that's really good. It allows our spark charges to it allows us to leech off of our spark charges, and it causes spark charges to deal more damage. So I believe damage leech works in a way that you actually leech over the next 2 seconds. So that's why we don't really need to have a lightning skill, because once our spark charges hit the enemy, we would regain the health over the next 2 seconds, 2 to 3 seconds. Next, let's go to Runemaster. We put 6 points into Unsealed Mana that gives us increased cast speed and mana. That allows us to go above 300 threshold if you do not have the 300 threshold already. We don't really need it for the bonus. We also put 8 points into Arcane Focus. It gives us plus 8 intelligence against again the scaling of intelligence. It also allows us to gain ward when we cast a direct spell, which is Frost Claw, so we get 32 ward when we cast Frost Claw. We've also put 6 points into Mental Catalysis. This gives us 6 intelligence with Catalyst, and also reduce bonus damage taken from crits with our Catalyst. So that allows us to cap this with helmet with our helmet and bell, because we have reduced bonus damage taken from critical strikes. I don't think I have kept it. It's probably 90+%, but that's good enough. We also put 6 points into Edict of the Siren. It allows us to have increased area for our area skills, so that gives us more increased area for our Elemental Nova, Frost Claw, as well as Spark Charges too. It also allows us to gain 72 ward when we use an area skill. So because we would always have 3 runes, so that's why 24 multiplied by 3 is 72. And Frost Claw has an area scaling tag, so that's why we would gain the 72 ward when we use Frost Claw. I put 6 points into Inscribed Instruments. This is mainly for the damage. 72% critical strike multiplier is a lot. We also put 8 points into Sphere of Protection. That gives us more health, which scales with our Twisted Heart, so we gain more health to convert to water. It also allows us to have less damage taken from ignited shock or chill enemies. Again, a lot less damage taken is really good. Even though it's kind of multiplicative, so the 8% is probably like 5 to 6% because we have so many sources of less damage taken. We have the 2 Red Rings, 10% each. We have Rovin's Frostguard, which give another 30%. Also, Flame Ward also give you 30% less damage and another 40% less damage on the skill tree, on barrier, and also prismatic buffer with another 30% less elemental damage taken. Although it's multiplicative, but it's always good to have less damage taken. Next, we also put 6 points into Wrongwarp Cataclysm. It gives us a lot of critical strike chance, so that's really good. Also, it allows us to deal more damage to low health enemies with Wrongwarp Cataclysm. Because we would always be critically striking an enemy, we would always have this up. We also put 1 point into Neverlade. That is mainly so that we can spec into Rune of Dilation. It does give us a little more spell damage and critical strike chance on our next spell, but that's not too important because we would be spamming our Frost Claw. So we put 3 points into Rune of Dilation. It gives us 10% more cast speed and 10% more move speed for 3 seconds. It gives us more damage and more cast speed. So when we cast our Frost Claw, it's 3 seconds because our teleport is on a 3 seconds cooldown. So also, cast speed indirectly helps with ward generation, because when we cast Frost Claw, we have a passive stat allows us to gain ward, and also we have Twisted Heart. So that's why we have a lot of cast speed. We have a lot of T7 cast speed on our items. It's not just for damage, it's also for defense as well. Next, we put 10 points into Ancient Inscription. It gives us plus 10 intelligence, and also it scales our intelligence to cooldown recovery speed, and that's really good for defense as well, because it reduces our Flame Ward cooldown and it reduces our Snap Freeze cooldown and our teleport cooldown by a little as well. Next, we also put 1 point into Wrongwarp Inferno because we'll be using Frost Claw a lot. We'll be spamming Frost Claw, so we would always have Wrongwarp Inferno. It gives us plus 10 spell fire damage, but it also gives us plus 3% per stack of shock on enemies. Because we can stack up to 10 times, we would get plus 30% armor. So we get another source of defense capability from this. We put 5 points into Jagged Veil so that we get 5 ward gain on crit. So we have a lot of hits either from Frost Claw, Elemental Novas, or Spark Charges. So that's a lot of way to gain ward when we crit the enemy. So that's why we put 5 points into Jagged Veil. It also helps us with dealing with bosses and rare enemies because it gives us 20% more critical strike multiplier. Notice I did not put any points into Celestial Doom. This does give us a lot of ward when fighting against branded bosses or rare enemies. It also gives us a lot of spell damage as well. The problem with Celestial Doom is that we do not have a way to brand enemies, either from Brand of Deception, which requires a lightning skill. Since our Frost Claw is a fire skill, we will not be able to use Brand of Deception. We also do not put points into Frost Claw, Frost Wall, or Flame Rush, so there's no other way of branding the enemy as well. So that's why we do not have Celestial Doom, and that's alright because we would be basically permanent stunning the boss anyways. But with rare enemies, it would be almost permanent stun. Even though Snap Freeze is at 8 seconds cooldown, we could use Snap Freeze and then teleport, and it would be like 2 seconds off cooldown, and then we can use it again. So that's why we do not have Celestial Doom. Also, like I said, we really need Frost Claw to be fire skill and have teleport. That's why and also have Rowan's Frost Guard. That's why we definitely need Frost Claw to be a fire skill, and we wouldn't be able to get Celestial Doom. So going forward, I'm actually going to be trying different builds instead of grinding Corruption, and I'm also going to make a budget build with 0 LP items, and then we can see how we will perform at 1 to 2,000 Corruption.